Welcome, and thank you for standing by. Today's conference call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I'll now turn the call over to your host, Ms. Julie Sandler. You may begin.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming to our AMIS demo today on the fiscal year 2023 Bank Enterprise Award Program application. My name is Julie Sandler. I'm the Acting Program Manager, and I'm here today with my colleague, Michael Fulton. And today we're going to walk you through how the application works, how you can complete the application. It is a new application this year, but many of the questions have remained the same. So we hope you use this as a tool in addition to your AMIS manual and your application guidance, as well as the supplemental guidance and the NOFA in completing your application. And thank you for your interest. And with that, I will pass it on to Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. So here we're starting at the AMIS homepage. And in order to get to the BEA application, you want to go to your Organizations tab and then select your organization. So here's our test organization for this demonstration. Select that. This is your organization page, and we're going to want to go to the Related tab and then scroll down to the Program Profile for the BEA application or the BEA program. You select the program profile name. And then here, if you have not applied for a BEA application yet, and this is your first time doing this, you're going to want to select this Apply for BEA button at the top right corner. However, if you've already opened up an application and you need to get back into it, and for the purposes of this demonstration, we have already opened ours, you're going to want to go to the Related tab and then select the Application Link Communities link. Make sure that you're selecting this link and not the other link. And select that. And then now you will be in the BEA application homepage. So here's the homepage, and there's some important information here. And you can go back to your organization's profile in AMIS. You can view the application in PDF form. You can go back to your contact. Some important information regarding your control number and the due date of the application, as well as how much remaining time is left in order to complete your application, and also a progress bar. So as you complete more and more sections, this progress bar will go farther, and the goal is to be at 100% in order to fully submit your application. And before moving on, some important instructions or at least dates for the BEA application. These are some deadlines like submitting your SF424 by May 2nd, last day to contact the BEA program staff, last day to contact IT, and also the last day that the BEA program application is due, so by June 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is also important to note, as Julie said, that the BEA program application guidance, FAQs, and the BEA application AMIS training manual will greatly help in completing this application. And all those documents can be found on the CDFI public website under the BEA program tab. So now we're able to move into the first part that you need to complete, and we'll go to the applicant information section. And there's 5 questions that we need to complete in this section. And the first one is the organization information. And it's important to note that throughout the application, there's going to be some lock boxes like these ones where you're unable to input information. This is because they're automatically generated from your AMIS profile, so there's nothing you can do to change it. You have to go into AMIS in order to change this. But there's also some unlock boxes like the minority bank question, whether or not you're a minority bank, select yes or no. Whether you're a community bank, selecting yes or no. And then also you have to select where your applicant headquarters is located in. And for the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to select Virginia. And then once you have completed every section, and this goes for every section in the application, make sure that you press Save in order to fully save all your information to the application. And we might have that little run up, but just make sure that you save all your information here for every section, whether or not you completed it, or maybe you're stepping away and you've completed a portion of it. So it's important to save every time. So once you've completed your organization information, you can move on to the second question, which is your total assets. And here we're asking for the total assets in thousands from your 12/31/2022 call report or TFR. So right here it looks like I'm inputting $1 million in total assets. However, we're asking for this to be in thousands, so this $1 million is actually $1 billion in total assets. And then again, before moving on, make sure to press save. Okay, so you can see that it's successfully saved successfully, and also when you save successfully and completed everything, you'll receive a green check mark indicating that everything has been answered. So moving on to question 3, you're going to select your authorized representative as well as the point of contact for this application. And in order to select your contact, you're going to want to just select this text box, and a list of contacts will populate, and you must select one of the contacts for being the authorized representative as well as the point of contact. And it is important to note that these contacts cannot be the same. They need to be different in order to successfully save this section. So as you can see, this is contact 1 and contact 2. So they're different contacts, and we can save. Okay. And then quickly for the SF424, this will be, this is what you complete through grants.gov, and once this has been successfully completed and uploaded to AMIS, it'll populate in this text box when you select this text box, and then once you identify your SF424, select it and press save. And then the last question for the applicant information section is simply asking for the estimated total number of hours in order to complete this entire application package. Once you've identified that number, you can press save, move on. Okay, so we've completed all the information in the applicant information section, and now we can move on to part 1, which is reporting BEA qualified activities, and this is the section that you're going to be completing Table 5 in. And this section is designed to collect financial data on the baseline and assessment periods for the acceptable BEA program activities that showed an increase in activity over the reporting period. So as you can see here, we indicated that we are reporting yes to the following BEA eligible activities, such as equity investments or CEI. We are reporting on the affordable housing loans, AHL, commercial real estate loans and project investments, CRE, deposit liabilities, and community services. And I'll go quickly over how to complete this section. So if you are, whether or not you are or are not reporting any increase from the baseline to the assessment period, you're going to select either yes or no, whether you're reporting on this or not. So for CEI, we're selecting yes because we did demonstrate an increase. However, for equity-like loans, we are not reporting on this activity, so we're going to be selecting no. And I do want to make it clear that in order to successfully save Table 5, you need to make sure that every one of these text boxes are completed. So even if you're not reporting on, say, ELL, you're going to still input a 0 into these text boxes. And you need to have all the text boxes fully completed in order to save. So going quickly, we will discuss, let's discuss the equity investments. So here we're inputting that in our baseline period that we closed $100,000 in activities. But during the assessment period, we're indicating that we did $300,000 in activities. And there's one more column that I would like to show you. And this demonstrates the total increase and or decrease in the activity, increase or decrease in the activity that you're reporting on. And this is an automatically generated formula or box. So basically it's taking the assessment period and subtracting it by the baseline period. So as you can see, the assessment period is $300,000 while the baseline period is $100,000. So the total increase in this activity was $200,000. And with that, after you've successfully completed each of these text boxes, make sure that all the information is correct. And once you have finalized all the information, press Save in order to successfully save this table. Okay. And with that, I will now pass it over to Julie, where she'll discuss Table 6.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. So now you've done the hard work of identifying what activity you did during the baseline period and kind of aggregated the activity you did during the assessment period. A key part of the application is we verify the transactions that occurred during the assessment period. So that, and where we do that is Table 6, the transaction list. So new this year is we have created a CSV template file for you to upload your transactions. You can do this all in one file, multiple uploads at once. We definitely encourage one file. If for any of you who are familiar with CDFI RRP, CDFI program, ERP, the transaction level report, the TLR, is similar. So this is a CSV file, no bells and whistles. Don't change kind of the columns and kind of you input in the rows. So you can access the file here. You just click and it'll come up as a download and you can access it. But I have, it's like a cooking show, already preloaded a couple of files. And so I'll walk through some of the issues you may encounter and some of the functionality. So you have your CSV file, click Upload Transactions. Great. Then you click Add Files. Oops, sorry there. Where did my desktop? Here. Okay, start. And so it does take a few minutes, not a few minutes, a little bit of time. It's not an immediate quick upload. So give yourself a minute. Loading preview. All right, so there's a few errors. And so a lot of these validations have happened in previous years. It just looks a little different. So for one, for example, if, definitely refer to the application guidance when you're figuring out what the errors are. But for example, you cannot have an affordable housing loan for consumer greater than $500,000. That would not be valid. In this case also, and I'll walk you through a specific file as well. In this case also, our transaction exceeded the amount that was put in Table 5, so an error will show up. And we also catch the date. So I'll walk you through a little bit. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Transactions, desktop, the file that was uploaded. Yeah, so here's the CSV file that was just uploaded. So all of these columns need to be completed depending on the record type. So you complete the record type here. Affordable housing loan, we did $600,000 total value, and then amount dispersed to date. For loans below $250,000, which is many of them, the amount dispersed to date should match the total dollar volume. And so for deposits, we did beginning of the year balances and end of year balances, so it's only required for deposits. So 0 to, hold on 1 second. I see that the CSV file is not visible, so hold on, let me kind of figure out how to share my screen a little bit better. Share my screen, there we go. Apologies for that. Is that good?
Yes.
Mr. Fulton? Perfect, thank you. So apologies. So here's the CSV file. Just some technical difficulties today. So there's total value, CDFI partner. So depending on what record type it is, you do not have to fill out each column. And the guidance will walk you through it. So like I said, deposits have beginning of the year balances and then the end of year balances. AHL, you have to affordable housing loan, put in that it's a new origination, the date, and then address, which is very important. as well as the same for CRE. So it really depends on the transaction type. Then this is for a CDFI-related activity, an equity investment, CEI. So you would need to put in the CDFI partner's EIN, as well as the CDFI partner's name from there. And then certain have impact requirements. So please refer to the application guidance to guide you in what to submit. Our application will also show you, will pop up errors as well if things are done incorrectly. So, okay. There we go. So these have errors, and so you could resolve them. Say I'm only going to count 500,000 of that. Well, 500,000 would not be incorrect, but so okay. Oops, I forgot about that. I could remove fields. You could also go and resolve in the application. Actually, I did 20,000, not 10,000. So in the application in Table 5, you could go down to deposits. And it's 10,000, so you're like, oops, let me update this. That would resolve that error. And then also resolve the date if it's just a typo. But we do encourage you to kind of clean up the CSV file. So you would go here, fix the CSV files, clear rows, and then click to add clean, your clean files. And here it is. So add files, start, takes a minute. All right, no errors, so submit. Upload has started. Give it a minute. Give it a second to give it some time. Patience. Processing, saving records. Upload successful. This will navigate you back to your organizational profile, so you'll just go back to this tab, refresh to Table 6, and here you are. So we are at, what is this? Sorry. So all the addresses have been verified if necessary. In this case, all of the addresses are for CRE and affordable housing loans are qualified. If you had not, if your transaction was, let's say, Washington 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is not a distressed community, it would show up as not qualified. You would have to go back and either delete all transactions to eliminate that, or it just a not BEA qualified transaction will not count towards your award amount. So this will show you, that's why we kind of encourage if you do need to make changes, just have your CSV file if you need to delete all and go back. But the only way to change once everything has been uploaded is to delete all transactions. You can't delete transactions one by one. So the next piece of it is certain transactions require additional documentation, such as loans above $250,000, service activities, and CD5-related activities. So actually most of them here do require uploads. So I would go to the transaction, click here. So this has all the information that's in the CSV file. Then click Related. And I'm just going to upload this. Happens a little faster, this here. And then you just kind of click through, and you won't be able to save until all the transactions have been completed. So it says, are all the required documentations for each BEA transaction reported below attached? No, because I need to complete the rest of them. So this will take me 1 second. In an effort to show you different transaction types, CD5-related and service activities will be there. So there. So make sure a little refresh. Click. Yes, now they are all uploaded. Yep, and it says has documentation. That's how you know. You did a bunch, and it says, instead of saying required, it says has documentation. So that's how we know that they're all done in addition to this. So here you have, so this is kind of the big bulk of where you guys will be working, uploading, this is the bulk of the application. We do hope that the CSV file does make it easier to kind of upload in one fell swoop. You're not clicking a bunch of buttons, creating one by one. It's just being transferred from information that you have. So hopefully this will be of great use to you all. Click save. And then with that, Mike, I think you can navigate back to the screen. I'm going to have you kind of close out from there. So you can tell if something is completed with that green check mark. We're not going to be able to complete everything today in this test case, but it is a good start. So thanks, Mike. Hey, Mike, we can't hear you.
My apologies. So, yeah, like Julie said, you have completed most of the application by this point, and now we can move on to the last section of the application. And Table 7 is just a automatically generated table, and it shows whether or not you've demonstrated an overall increase in the BEA program activity. And I would like to just give a little background of how this table works. So this is the estimated BEA program award calculation table, and it's drawing information from several different sources within this application. So for the baseline period, information is coming from the data that you inputted into Table 5 for the baseline period. And for the assessment period, this information is coming from Table 6, which you inputted in your transaction list. So the baseline period is coming from Table 5, the assessment period is coming from Table 6. And what it's doing is it's showing whether or not you demonstrated an increase in this lending activity. So as you can see, the $100,000 in the baseline period for the CEI to $300,000 in the assessment period does demonstrate an overall increase, while here for ELL, there is not a overall increase because it went from $0 to $0. So we can quickly walk through how this table works. So we've discussed the demonstrated overall increase. We've discussed how the baseline period and assessment periods are inputted, the data is inputted. And then this column is showing how much of an increase from the baseline period to the assessment period is. And then here is the award percent. So the award percent is determined based on the type of qualified activity, as well as whether or not you're a CDFI or not. So as you can see here, the award percent is different for certain BEA lending activities like CDFI-related activities, distressed community financing activities, service activities. So they differ based on what type of activity you are participating in, as well as whether or not you are a certified CDFI or not. So that number will change. And then the next column is the priority factor. And the priority factor is determined by the size of the organization based on requirements set forth in the NOFA. So those size requirements are between small, intermediate, and large. So smaller institutions will receive a higher priority factor, intermediate will be less than small, and the lowest will be large organizations. And again, those requirements are set forth in the NOFA. And I do just want to make sure that it's clear that the priority factor is not applicable to CDFI-related activities. So don't be concerned if you don't see a priority factor in this column. The priority factor is not applicable to CDFI-related activities. And then moving forward, disregard the weighted value. That is for our internal calculation purposes. But the estimated award amount, it'll show the estimated award amount for the lending category, as well as the grand total estimated award amount based on the calculation that we just walked through. So that is a brief overview of this table. And again, it's automatically generated. You do not have to input anything. And then after you've successfully reviewed that, it all looks correct, you can move on to part 3, which is the projected use of the BEA program award. And here you have to complete Table 8, where there's actually 2 sections for Table 8. And here you'll be required to input the projected uses of the BEA program award, which is split between CDFI-related activities, DCFAs, service activities, and also direct administrative expenses. And it is important to note that only up to 15% of the award proceeds can be used for the direct administrative expenses. And if it's more than that, you'll receive an error once you press save. So make sure all the information is correct. Make sure that it adds up to 100%. And once you are sure that everything is correct and finalized, you may press save. Okay. And then let's move on to the second part of Table 8. So here for this section, you're going to state the minimum and maximum percentage of the BEA program award that your institution will commit to deploying in distressed communities that are also defined as being a persistent poverty county. And another important piece of information that we need to make sure you understand is that the PPC's determination needs to be utilizing the American Community Survey, or ACS, data for the 2016 to 2020 census data set. So once you have used that data and that information correctly and you've identified the minimum and maximum commitment, press save and we can move forward. Okay, so moving down to the last section before you are able to submit the application, here's some general forms and certifications that you need to fill out prior to submitting your application. And we won't walk through everything, but for example, there's the environmental review form. Make sure you answer all the questions, yes or no. And once you've successfully answered all the questions, press save. And do this for every single one of these forms and certifications. And after you've successfully completed all the forms and certifications, you will see a check mark next to it. And after they're all done, you may move on to the last section where you'll probably want to review your application several times. Just make sure that all the information is correct, everything's finalized, you see your progress bars at 100%. And then after you've ensured everything is totally accurate, everything has been completely finalized, you're going to be selecting the checkbox to agree to the terms stated above, and you're going to want to be submitting this application. And with that, that is the rest of this BEA program application, and I'll just turn it over to Julie just to close out the meeting.
Thank you so much. We hope this was helpful. This is the first year in this new application, and we're excited, and we'll continue to put your feedback about how to improve. We want to look forward to kind of adding some of the requirements. Instead of uploading, you'll be able to include that in the application in future years. So we're excited about what this application can do, and most importantly, hopefully make it reduce burden for you all as you apply and do the important work in the communities that you're doing. So please reach out with any questions via an AMIS service request. And with that, thank you so much. Operator?
This will conclude today's conference. All parties may disconnect at this time.